everyone. Thank you for joining me today on It's Not About Food podcast. And today I'm going to be talking about the idea of having compassion for yourself when you are suffering from an eating disorder, suffering from body hatred, suffering from addiction, illness, whatever it is that the muscle of compassion has to be worked in order for you to get through whatever you have to get through to get into recovery. And I think it is such an important part of recovery that we don't talk about very much. And especially with people who hate their bodies or are losing weight or gaining weight and just are so scared of both things. They're scared of food, they're scared of clothing, they're scared of other people. Just the shame of having an eating disorder and other disorders as well can just take over your whole life. So it is so important to put our arm around ourselves and say, I love you. I know this is really hard. I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this. And I have a lot of compassion for you. So it helps when I work with people that we get sort of a history. When did it start? What happened? How was it that you learned how to overeat or undereat in order to get along in your family when you were little? Or when you were bigger, because eating disorders can really start anytime. So one of the things that I tell people is once you have written out your whole history, sort of like imagine if you were going to write a book and you were just doing a synopsis of your life. This is when it started. This is what was going on. This is what I remember. Then a lot of times we can step back and see, wow, that little person had no other way to deal with anything. So we have a therapist at Beyond Hunger that worked with us for a long time that would say we were all smart little people to come up with what we came up with. We had no way to we had no money, we had no job, we had no credit card, we couldn't leave, we couldn't do something different. So we just had to go along to get along. But the part of us that needed something was there. And what we could get a lot of the time was either overeating or undereating. I've worked with people who didn't eat because they wanted to disappear, or didn't eat because that's the only thing that got their parents to sort of be aware of them and care for them. And other people overeat and overeat and overeat, and then they don't feel very good, and maybe they gain more weight than their bodies have the capacity to do and be healthy. So it's, eating disorders is a very complex issue. And it's not about how much we love food or we don't love food. It's sort of like I have many years sobriety from alcohol, and I didn't drink alcohol because I was thirsty. I drank it in order to be like my peers, and then it took another turn, and then I drank in order to never feel what drinking did for me. So that's sort of the way that I kind of fell into an eating disorder at the young age I did. I did it because I needed or wanted to be a certain size. So I went on the first of many diets, and then that obsession with my body and my weight and with food took over. So it bounced between being really big and eating a lot, and then dieting down to way too small, restricting my food so that I would be really, really thin, and then I would bounce back and forth and back and forth and throw in some alcohol and drug stuff and throw in some insane relationships, throw in some really hard things that happened to me and that I didn't have the coping skills I felt to do anything about them. So I used whatever substance I could. And boy, when I got into recovery for all of these things, I was so mad at myself that I let myself do those things. But I had to change that idea that I was wrong or bad at some point and go, what else did you have? How did you ever know how to deal with almost anything? I didn't. I had no class on feelings. I had no classes on how to get through hard times without driving yourself and everyone else insane. So I didn't know that, and I had to kind of develop that, like that muscle. But in order to come out of denial about what I was doing, each recovery, I had to have compassion, or it was too difficult. I couldn't keep the hounds at bay just by myself. I had no idea how to do any of that. So like I said when we started, I think the first step with almost any recovery is to get it in your mind or in your heart. What happened? When did you start? What was going on? How did it progress? And then what is happening now? And why would you even want to get sober or get a handle or get some help about this issue you may have? And then you can look at it like you were reading a book and go, wow, what else could that person have done? So that's the first part. And then you can work on what else works. Now, for me, when I was overeating, let's say, and I would hear this voice in my head that would say, there's pizza, so you need to eat all the pizza. And I wouldn't stop until I ate all the pizza. But I didn't really want all the pizza. My body didn't want all the pizza all the time, but I couldn't listen to that. I just needed to get all the pizza eaten, and then I would do this. I would say to myself, okay, you're never having pizza again because you can't handle it and you don't know what you're doing, and pizza, you're allergic to pizza, and you can't have cheese, you can't have gluten, you can't have any part of this pizza ever, ever, ever. And of course, that really never worked. So it just made me a pizza addict because I wanted it. And for me to have restriction, it was a whole mind thing that I had to go through to get to that place. But say like the same time, I ate all the pizza, all the pizza, all the pizza, all the time. And then I stopped. And I went to, I will not eat anything that I like, because if I like it, I'll overeat it, and I can't do that anymore. So that's how it bounced back and forth through these two extremes of eating and two extremes of the way my body looked and the way my body felt. And my head, of course, my mind was very foggy and very kind of like I knew exactly how many calories or fat grams was in everything, but I couldn't come up with the words that I needed to have in order to express myself because my brain was starving to death or overloaded. It was a very hard time, and it feels like it took years and years and years. When I look back on it now, it doesn't seem that long, but at the time it really did. So taking that story, your story, and coming up with this is how you took care of yourself when these things happened, then thinking about, well, what else could I have done? So what other tools do you have in your toolbox? You definitely have eating in there or not eating. You definitely have body hatred in there. You definitely have loathing in there and just so upset with yourself in there. But what else do you have? Well, I didn't have anything. I didn't feel like I had anything. And also a lot of stuff that people would say, well, when you want to eat all the pizza, maybe take a bath. Well, no bath at work, or call a friend or walk around the block or eat something else or, but none of this really worked for me. I knew there were behavioral things I could do, but in the moment when I was feeling something that was so overwhelming to me, that reminded me, and I didn't even know it, of some horrible childhood memory, then, taking a bath, walking around the block and calling a friend was like nothing. I wouldn't do it. It didn't work, So I had to, again, build this kind of the care and feeding of Laura Lee. I didn't have that when I got here. That didn't come with a little, like an IKEA thing of this is how you put her together. I didn't have any of that. I had no idea how to even feel sad or mad or grateful or, lonely or scared. I didn't know how to feel any of that because I just had to shut down during my childhood. Just cope, put your ears back and walk up that hill and shut up. That's what I learned. So, in order to get this part of me that had compassion, I kind of had to do it for others. Like, I could have compassion for my small child. I could have compassion for a friend. I could have compassion and love and respect for my animals. But I started to have to put myself in the same lineup as other humans and other animals, that we're all in this together. We're all coping the best we can. So what can I do? Well, then that made it a little bit more possible to call a friend. If I could have compassion for someone, then I would hope that they could have some compassion for me. So I started to find like-minded people that I could talk to and that they could talk to me. I started getting therapy. I started going to groups. I started doing a lot of different things in order to not be so isolated. One thing about eating disorders, it is very isolating. It's very shameful. That's what we feel is so much shame. It's very, it's just so yucky. So I didn't want to tell anyone. When I could speak to somebody who knew what it was like to eat a frozen cake over the sink at 2 a.m., I felt so much better. So once I could get respect, then that followed with compassion, that followed respect, and that followed love, and that followed understanding, and that followed, all of these things that I didn't have as a child. And sooner or later, I was able to recover. So I want to put this out here that there's a lot of parts about this that are so awful, really awful. And I had to feel so sorry for myself that I was going through that. And it was sort of like, in order to recover, I had to see what I was doing. And I sort of had to embrace the suck. This sucks that I have to deal with this. And I had to go, fine, that's mine to do. That is mine to keep. That is my struggle to have, my war, my little battle, whatever it is. And the acceptance of doing that, of embracing the suck, made me learn so much from it. The reason why I do this work right now is because of what I learned by me going through this and what I was able to learn by thousands of people that have come to me or read my book or listened to the podcast or seen the videos. They are having to embrace the suck too. And I am there to say it totally does suck and you can get through it. And this is how, and you will be better. And then you can turn around to somebody else behind you and help them. So I hope that in this new year that we have, 2024, that you allow yourself to accept everything about you. I don't care if you don't think you can ever accept it, you can. Accept everything, like your whole entire self. Bad that you think is bad, good that you think is good, bad that other people tell you is bad, good that other people tell you is good. Just accept it all. This is your lesson. It's like the Dalai Lama says that the Chinese were his greatest teachers. And I honestly can say my eating disorder was my greatest teacher. My alcoholism was a very good teacher. My drug addiction, my problems with relationships, with people, with, they say in AA, people, places, and things. How I dealt with that, and then how I learned how to have healthy relationships with people, places, and things. It was a huge lesson. It was a school that I would not be able to find anywhere but inside of me. And I really, really hope that you get that you are strong and capable, and you are a rock star, and you can do it. You can do this. Have compassion, have love, have hope, and embrace the suck. Thank you so much for listening. Please become a member of my Patreon. It'd be great to have you. And I do these videos once a month, so there'll be another one at the end of February. And so I'll see you then. Thank you very much for listening, and be well. Thank you.